Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition. Joining me today is Ashley Cox. Now, I did say to you guys on my last episode that she would be joining me and that I understand that she is a powerhouse and all about uplifting women. So help me welcome Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, Lisa. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience today.
Yay, thanks. Okay, you're in the States, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I said this on my last podcast. I was like, she's from the States and I'm so excited.
I love it. Well, I know you're in Alberta and I have a lot of friends in Alberta and all across Canada. So hello to our Canadian friends as well as our friends that are listening from the States and elsewhere around the world.
I love that. Thank you. And so we've never actually met. We got a referral from Andrew.
Oh, love Andrew.
So I got to meet Andrew quickly. We had a quick meet and greet. It wasn't podcast related. And so I was talking to him. He seems like he's a really nice guy and that he's got a lot of really cool things going on.
He is, and he does. He is genuinely, I always tell everybody, he is genuinely one of the nicest people that you will ever meet. He is authentic through and through to his core. He's all about building relationships and rapport and connecting people. And so I'm always grateful for the amazing introductions that he makes because he knows literally the best people. So I instantly knew I'm going to love Lindsay or Lisa. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I could be Lindsay today.
Sometimes I'm Amanda. So.
You know, I introduced myself once to somebody. I was like, hi, my name's Lisa. And they're like, Susan. I'm like, where did you get Susan out of Lisa? Like, it's not even the same stratosphere. Like, what happened?
Well, for in my defense, I was just talking to my friend Lindsay, and I get called Amanda because I have a cousin Amanda. So it's just all very close.
Yeah, but Amanda
and
Ashley
right?
is not too. It's not too
not.
far.
But Lisa
right?
and Susan, I mean, you have an S in common. Oh, people.
I don't know. So tell me about yourself. What do you do?
Yeah. So I'm a leadership mentor for women who have small businesses. I specialize in micro teams, so teams from 5 to 50. And I love helping women who have a team but no time reclaim their life. And I'm always going around telling them, you know, you didn't sign up to be a business owner and a firefighter. So let's put out those fires and get you back to that CEO seat.
That's great. So I'm going to tell you what like the catalyst in my life was. So I mean, I don't expect you to have listened to any of my episodes just at this particular junction. Some people will do the research, but there's a lot of episodes to go through and weed through. But on my podcast, most of my listeners know that I went through breast cancer, and that was my catalyst in being what you do for other people, which was your hair isn't on fire all the time just because you're a business owner and a mother and a single mother. Like, you need to find time for yourself, and you need to find more time for, like, you need to prioritize time management and prioritizing, and it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, because a lot of people, and I guess it just depends on what you want out of your business. Do you want your business to be the next like multi-million-dollar corporation? Well, then you're dealing with people and headaches, and you are in it all the time. If you want your company to be, you know, in a little bit smaller of an area, like where you're under $1 million or just at $1 million, then you might have more time to free up because you won't have as many people to oversee. Especially in the consultancy world, consultancy is already, it's a niche aspect. So most consultants I know aren't charging like $50, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I talk about with my clients all the time. I'm like, what is it that you want? Because it's so easy to get caught up in the capitalist machine that we live in and set goals and have expectations of ourselves and our businesses and what that looks like that is enough, that's worthy enough, that's big enough, that's exciting enough, that's fulfilling enough, that meets enough goals, that keeps up with the Joneses enough. And I'm like, we got to slow down and we got to take a step back, because you're just going to create a job for yourself if you do that. And especially if you kind of got caught up in the hamster wheel that is corporate America, and you, like I did, worked 80 and 90 hours a week and never had a life and was exhausted all the time and just kept clawing and climbing it for what? And I just would look at the end of the day and I'm like, what is this all for? What is the purpose? Why do I keep doing this? And so that was my catalyst, was really to say, I want something different for my life. I want to have more flexibility. I want to be able to enjoy my life more and to be with my family and my friends and the hobbies that I wanted. And so a lot of times I find that business owners that are making that same or similar shift end up kind of creating the exact same experience in their own business because they're trying to keep up with what they think is success.
That's very well put, because it's true. I left corporate America, or corporate Canada, the North Americas. I left corporate Canada, working 80 hours a week as an operations director, for two different separate companies. And I worked 75 to 80, if not more hours. I was on call, a single mom, two little kids at the time. And I was like, this is retarded. If I'm going to put these kinds of hours in, I'm going to do it at my own accord. And then I did put those hours in, and I was like, still, this isn't good.
Yeah.
I'm just, at that point, it was just keeping up, because you're new business. So you're like, there's like I can't say no. Yeah. I have to say yes, 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 yes. So I started my company like right before COVID hit. So like November of 2019, I started my company, and then March of 2020, everything was getting shut down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but I did really well in my first year. Right. And I was like, oh, well, it's because I'll go and deal with it. Everybody else is scared, right? Because I'm a consultant for construction. So, and then I worked specifically with condos. So nobody else wanted to go in. So I was like, well, this is perfect. You know? And then when I went through the cancer a couple years later, and I pushed back. I said no to everything. And I just went and did a lot of business development. When I say business development, I don't mean the sales portion of it, like developing myself, doing a lot of courses, doing a lot of, developing inside of my business for the business plan, how I want it to look, because I changed it a few times. And I find that because I never wrote a business plan, I'm like fly by the seat of my pants kind of person, right? Most people are.
Most business owners don't.
Right? And it's so funny because I always get that question. They're like, do you have a business plan? And I'm like, do you?
And where would I put it?
I'm like, as a consultant, no, I don't have a very specific business plan. But do I have a business plan? Yes, I've sat down and sorted out what I want to do, how I want to do it. My rates change consistently to keep up. And when I started, it was like, yeah, I'm only going to charge this. I don't want to, hurt anybody because I am in condo. That's non-for-profit, right? Which I think you guys call them stratas out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're non-for-profit corporations. I don't want to gouge them. They already have these large losses they're dealing with, capital reserve projects they're dealing with. So the last thing I want to do is be like a thorn in their side that you can't succeed without me. But, at the low price of $100,000, that would be crazy. Yeah. So I was like, that wasn't my purpose. My purpose was to be their advocate. So being their advocate comes at a cost, but it can't be nothing, and it can't be ridiculously high, because the whole reason that I'm there is to help keep their costs at a manageable spot, especially with contractors, right? So I totally get that. It's just like, and then so I get to cherry pick most of my clients, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Being on this business journey is, I think, it's all about evolution. It's all about, I've been in business now a little over 9 years, and have things changed? Absolutely. Have my philosophies around leadership evolved? Yeah, because I've learned more, and I've listened more, and I've coached more, and had a lot of experiences. And have my prices evolved? Of course. I actually started off as an HR consultant, and then this past year I went through a big rebrand and decided to strip out all of the HR pieces because I was just tired of doing HR. And my heart started with and has always been so tied to leadership development, and especially new leaders and struggling leaders, and women in leadership claiming their voice and their confidence and their space. And so it's just always been an evolution. And it's kind of like, I always think of Blockbuster. If you fail to evolve, you fail to be here today. And so I want my business to continue to be here. And I think that's what most of us want. We want to build something, a legacy that we can look back on and be proud of, whether it's just for our own personal fulfillment, or for children, or the community, or whoever we might be building it for.
Right. And how cool would it be if there was like a Blockbuster came back and turned into like a Netflix?
Right.
But it was called Blockbuster. I'd be all over that.
I know. But it's kind of like, you just think about these things, these lessons in business that we can learn from the big guys. And, when you fail to adapt and you fail to evolve, and also I think from a personal standpoint, if you're not in alignment with your values and with your purpose and with what you want to create in this world, you're
Yeah.
probably not going to be around long term anyways, because it's not going to feel good and it's hard to show up for something that you're not into. So, the motivation starts to go away and the excitement fades, and sometimes business is hard and it's a slog, and you've got to have something deeper that's driving you forward. And I think the same thing with leadership. Why are you wanting to have this team of people, and what are you getting from it? What's the fulfillment for you? And if you're not finding fulfillment in it, why do you have a team of people?
Agreed. Now, I have an HR background as well. I also have products on the side that I've built your HR package that coincides with a safety package, because I'm safety designated and I have my HRM. So I built them both. I've been doing it for years, but then I just went and got the paperwork for the HR side of it. But the reality is, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't like going into businesses and telling them about HR. I'm like, I don't have any patience for it. Clearly, I was like, we just did this like a few minutes ago. I was like, I'm impatient. And I am impatient because I got to be honest with you. What your role is very challenging, because we still have a lot of those mindsets of, well, their paycheck is their appreciation. Well, I tell them what to do. If they don't do it, then like I need to know how I'm going to fire them. It's like everyone thinks HR is on the business side, and I'm like, HR is supposed to be the bridge. They're not supposed to be on either side. They may be paid by the company, but the company has decided to have an HR, department so that there's no lawsuits. They minimize lawsuits and exposure and make sure policies are created internally so that everybody knows what their expectation is. But they are technically the bridge between the two. And I'm like, so whenever you walk into an HR department and it's clearly bias, you're in the wrong company.
Yeah. 100%. I can't agree with you more, Lisa. And that's one thing that I think gives HR a bad rap, is because there's a lot that side with the company every single time. And the employees feel like they don't have a voice. They don't have an advocate. They don't have an avenue to, be supported. And so even in the work with my clients now, even though I'm working directly with the leader, with the business owner, I'm also still in that role as an advocate for the employee. I'm like, well, how did you communicate this? What did you tell them? How do you have this process outlined? Let's talk about what it looks like to lead a team effectively and with the right metrics and processes and systems in place, so that the employee can come to work and feel good about it and do a good job and, be excited. And, we don't want to run around firing people all day long. That's miserable and it's hard and nobody wants to have that conversation. But it's also expensive and it's time consuming and it's costly from so many different factors, from team morale to the actual cost of rehiring to, getting your whole team in congruence and trained again. And so it's better if we can take a step back and say, okay, what was my role in this as the leader and how can I show up better? Because at the end of the day, these people also have a choice and they have agency to say, you know what, this is bananas. I'm out of here. I'm not sticking around for this. So if you're having a lot of turnover, it's probably time to look internally.
Read. And I love that you said that. So I'll tell you. So we're going to share some HR horror stories, because that's just how I.
I love it. I love
So I've never had a problem terminating. It's never been. Maybe I'm a callous asshole. I don't know, but I just never. I'm not the person that is going to feel bad. And I'll tell you what. I've always been the person that is all about accountability. Huge on accountability. So if I've given you chance after chance, if I've given you pips, I know you know what a pip is,
Yeah.
then, and you have chosen to be an idiot and to squander your opportunities when I've brought you to the table and said, how can I help support you with whatever transitions are going on, personal or professional, so that we can make this a smooth journey, and you've decided to basically give me the finger, in my opinion, then I've got zero problem sitting down and going, well, it's not working out. Here's your last check. Have a nice day. And they're like, And some people will be like, oh, she has a family and she's a single mother. I'm like, she should have thought about that. I gave her the tools to try and be better. I gave her the open door policy. And people say, well, sometimes you're not approachable. And I'm like, am I not approachable when you know you're in the wrong, or am I not approachable, period? Because most people have no problem approaching me and saying, hey, there's a problem. But when I sit there and give you an opportunity to tell me what's going on in your world, and then you want, like, so I used to have this thing, so I work in construction, right? So I used to, when guys wouldn't come in on a Saturday, I was like, oh, do you have the Saturday morning flu? And do you know what that is?
A hangover from Friday night.
There you go. And they're like, no, I really don't feel good. And I'm like, okay, well, no problem. If you're not going to be in on Monday, I'm going to need a doctor's note. And they're like, well, yeah, I know I'll be there Monday. And I'm like, okay. And some of them would come in and they would be like perfectly fine. And I'm like, because, and then I would explain to them. So then I would have them all in a group and I would explain to them, science tells us that in biology, if you have a cold, there's usually some sort of residual aspect or symptom of that cold inside of 2 days. Just saying. So if you were throwing up for 24 hours, by the next 24 hours, when you're supposed to come in 24 hours later after that, so in your brain, from the time you started throwing up, it's 48 hours back into work. I'm like, you're probably going to have bags under your eyes. Your voice is probably going to feel a little hoarse. You're probably going to look a little tired and sluggish, because that sucks. And I'm like, if you have a cold where you're coughing and you feel like garbage, good chance that's going to show on your person too. So when you come in tickety boo, I know that you've lied to me. And I'm like, because I pay attention to science. This is not male or female. This is people. It's a people problem. And that's where that's what HR is. It's people. It's peopling. You have to understand people. And that's where I struggle with, where I freaked out in HR and I was like, I'm not doing this shit, was when I would develop policies. And I know you're going to appreciate this. I would develop policies. And then they would have me come in and I would, I just kind of, pay attention, observe, whatever, talk to a few people, whatever. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, your poisonous apple is that person right there. Oh no, they're really good friends with me. They've been with the company for X amount of years, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. You want to know who your poisonous apple is? It's the guy that's smoking drugs and driving your vehicle. That's your poisonous apple. He's going to take you down, or she's going to take you down. And the more that you allow this bad behavior, you are bringing down the morale inside of your company when you are firing people for much less.
Yeah. Your
turnover is going to be high. And they fight me. This person makes me X amount. I don't care.
Yeah.
As a professional, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and even thinking about it from a different perspective is that those types of employees and that type of behavior, when it's allowed to continue, drives away your high performers because they don't want to be in that environment. So if you've got a team that you're like, everybody's garbage, well, that's probably because you haven't taken the trash out in a while, so to say, and you've got some problems on your team that aren't going to be remedied by training, that's not going to be remedied by having, supportive kind of conversations, that there's somebody there that is willfully going against whatever it is that you've set forth. And a lot of times we can kind of look at that also and say a lot of the people problems that we do experience aren't necessarily people problems. They're the leadership approach that you're taking. And so there could be that maybe there's an expectation that's never been communicated, or maybe it hasn't been communicated to every team member, or you played some horrible game of telephone where you told one person to go tell another person to go tell another person, and now it's all been distorted and nobody actually knows what's expected. And so, we always, in my business, we always take a look at like, what are the symptoms? What are the flickering flames? And then let's take a look at the root cause. What's the base of that fire? Is there some kind of accelerant there that's actually fueling this fire that could be, solved with a better communication plan or strategy, a process that could be in place to help everybody make sure that they're following the same protocol, or, terminating that bad apple, because sometimes there is just that one person who is kind of the energy vampire of the group and it sucks the life out of everybody else. And we can't have that either. But I'm like you, Lisa, I have not had a problem terminating people, because I'm like, if you are in my office having a conversation about termination, we've had many conversations, we've done many supports, and you've earned this conversation. Actually, I had a manager one time who said, I am demoting you to our highest level in the company, that of customer. And it's kind of like, you've got to go and you can come back and be a customer with us, but you can't work here anymore.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the hardest terminations I think for me have been layoffs because people didn't do anything to deserve that. And then people that have kind of gone, like the job has out technologied their capabilities. And so they can't learn the new computer system or the new software or the new manufacturing equipment or whatever it might be because it's gotten so sophisticated. And so in those cases, I always think, we take care of that person. We see that person's humanity and that they had no wrongdoing in this situation. And so how do we take care of and support them? But I've had people I've fired come back and thank me years later. They've seen me in the store and they've been like, thank you. I was a jerk. I was miserable. I was miserable at home. I was miserable at work. Everything was just like a catastrophe at the time. And you firing me gave me the boost I needed to get out there and find something that I enjoy. And I'm much happier and I'm doing really good. And I love those stories. Those are my favorite.
Percent. And then I'm like, so when I used to like have the conversations with people and they'd start crying, I'm really weird with crying. I don't like it. It bothers me. I'm not a crier. It's very seldom that I cry in my personal life, let alone in my professional life. I'm like cry in the car like an adult, like.
And I, on the other hand, Lisa, I am the emotional embodiment of all the emotions. Yes, I love the cry. It's my favorite. So crying doesn't bother me.
Are you a water sign? Are you a water sign?
I am. I'm a Pisces. I know you're into astrology, but it does track, doesn't it? I embody all of the emotions.
Yeah, and I'm a fire sign, so
yeah,
I'm like, get it done. I don't care.
Yeah.
So when people would come in male or female. What's that?
I was just going to say, sometimes these signs work for each other. And
actually, my significant is a water sign. Sometimes he's got to put me out, and sometimes I got to make him vapor. It depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
I think my husband must be a fire sign. Sagittarius, is that the
end of November, beginning of December?
Yeah.
There you go. Same Sag and Pisces. A lot of water signs are attracted to fire and fire are attracted to water. And I'm just like, why? But then I think about it and it's like, if you actually delve into the astrology side of it, in relationships, so air and fire is like the worst because when I say that, I mean like when they get each other riled up, it's like, it's just, like it amplifies air and fire. Same with air and water. It's like hurricane. It's like flaming tornado. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Flaming tornado.
Whereas we just put each other out.
Yeah.
We diffuse.
I was going to say there is some diffusion and then there's also kind of the revving up, the motivating. Like, the fire sign can really help you to kind of get your shit together as a water sign and be like, okay, I can't be in my emotions right now. We got to get this thing done. And my husband's very much a point A to point B person. And I'm like, let's enjoy the journey. And he's like, we got to get things done and then we can have fun. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try, and so we need each other. Obviously we need each other. And it can also create communication challenges and roadblocks and barriers. And we have to understand, what motivates this person might be different than what motivates that person. And I think that's the challenge a lot of times of human resources, of leadership, of working with other people. I always say wherever there's more than one person working together, there's going to be conflict eventually. But it's figuring out, what drives that person, what gets them excited, what, demotivates them, what stops them in their tracks and they kind of freeze or they run away or whatever, the fight or flight situation. Because that's how we really build relationships and we forge the kind of team that we want and that we deserve.
100%, because I know that where I was going with the crying thing was when people would come into my office and they were crying, I was like, do you need a minute? And if they were like, well, I'm just really, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, go to the bathroom, blow your nose, have a cry in the bathroom and come back and have a conversation with me because I'm not doing this. Yeah. And some people were like, oh my God, you're such a bitch. And I'm like, yes. I'm not emotionless. I have a lot of different emotions. Crying is just not one of them. Do you want to know when I cry? If I watch a movie that hits me in the feels.
Yeah.
I'll cry. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, that's when you catch me at home, like an adult hiding. Okay.
Like an adult hiding. Oh my gosh.
Cry in the shower like an adult.
Yeah, I think sometimes though too, like people can really weaponize their tears to try to get
Yes.
their way, and sometimes some people use it as a manipulation tactic, or this is what's worked at home and so they're expecting that to also work here. And I'll generally, if somebody's sitting there crying, I'm like, I'll give you a minute to collect yourself, but we have a really important conversation to have ahead of us. And usually it's sniffling, sniffling. It's like, okay, I'm getting myself together. But at the end of the day, we're still having this conversation. And, if you're crying or you're not crying, that's, up to you and how you express your emotions. And that's fine
Yeah.
with me. I'm going to sit with it. But this conversation isn't going to take more than 5 minutes, because at this point we've had hours and hours and hours and hours of conversations. And so, like you said, it's, at this point in time, you failed to meet the expectations of the position. Your employment is terminated today. Here's your information for continuing benefits. We need your car keyed back, and off you go. And I think a lot of times leaders don't realize the conversation is really that succinct. I know a lot of times when I say like this conversation should last 4 or 5 minutes tops, the people I work with are like, what? That's it? I know you don't have to give some big monologue.
Yeah.
We've had the conversations. It's done.
Yeah.
This is just the final I dotted and T crossed. So let's make it quick and as painless as possible, and let's get on with the day.
I'm the same way. I'm like quick and easy out the door. Like I don't have time. I've invested the time I felt that you needed to show me that you understood and we're going to work towards it. I could even handle some baby steps in certain areas. As long as there was progress, I would note it.
Yeah.
But if there is like no progress or like some and then none, I stress out. I'm just like, I'm not dealing with you. We're not having this conversation again this week. When we had it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 months ago, are you that forgetful? Like, do we need to talk about this? It's kind of thing. And so I get to the point where I'm just done talking, especially when people know that they've done wrong. But then at the same time, I remember I was letting a lady go, and she had said to me, she was bawling her eyes out, and I was like, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'm not going to like come over and coddle you. Like, you understand that, right? And she's like, and I'm like, are you happy here? And she was like, no. And I'm like, okay, then that's what this is about.
Yeah.
This isn't me terminating you. This is us having a parting of ways because we need to.
Yeah.
I'm like, every relationship, regardless of professional or personal, you need to be honest with yourself if a parting of ways needs to happen. So this isn't me saying you've done wrong, you need to be fired. This is me saying you are no longer at a point where you're happy and it is reflecting in your work. So go find something that makes you happy. I will write you a letter because there was a moment in time when you did really well at your job. I don't know what happened. We've had so many conversations that if you didn't want to tell me, that's on you. Fine, maybe it's none of my business. I'm like, but I will write you a letter of recommendation based off of what you could have been. But if they ask me what happened, I'm like, first of all, in HR, I can't say anything. I have to be like, no comment. But no comment usually tells everybody what they need to know.
No comment tells the whole story.
Pretty much.
Or ineligible for rehire. That one really seals the deal. People are like,
right?
No.
Oh my God. I remember when I had that. I remember when somebody, and it's funny because when you're owners and you all get along, so because I mean, like as an owner of my business, and then I'm friends with a lot of different owners, and they'll be like, hey, Lisa, did you have any feedback on this person? And I'm like, well, off the record.
Let me tell you some stories. Yeah.
Let's just say maybe that's not they weren't a good fit for me. They might be a good fit for you, but they weren't a good, you know what I mean? And that's something that I say to people a lot. Right now, I don't have to do that because I don't have any employees working under me, thank God. So, but used to be a common term for me was, like the no comment or they didn't work for me, but they might work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think everybody has a position that they fit in, their personality, their skill set, their motivation, their capabilities, whatever it is. And sometimes it's just not the one that they're in, and that's okay. And I think that, business owners have got to stop tying themselves up in knots that they're doing this to the person. If the person came in and represented themselves as capable of doing this job and they were doing it well for a while and then they fell off, like, they have ownership in that. If you misrepresented the job and hired somebody for a job that then you kind of pulled a bait and switch and changed the whole thing on them later, that's on you. That's not on them. So we also have to look at, what is the source of the friction? Is it that the job is so drastically changed that this person isn't capable to do the job anymore? Still a problem, but a different problem. It's not a them problem. It's a you problem. And so we have to make sure that we're also taking ownership as leaders of where we've created some of that friction. And that conversation looks a little different. It sounds a little different. It's not as, hey, you messed up. This is on you. You had a choice to fix it, a chance to fix it, and now you don't. It's more, hey, we've had to change this format of the business. We've had to change the way that we have the team structured. You no longer have the skill set that fits what we need, unfortunately, and so we have to part ways. Those are two totally different conversations, but they're also both important and necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. HR is such a tricky thing. It's like with my niche, I deal with people. It's one of the reasons why I went and got my HRM was because I was like, I'm dealing with people. Like, condos are a mix of people making decisions on behalf of their corporation.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so when the HR thing was coming about, I was like, listen, I'm just going to make the manual. They can choose to buy it if they want to buy it. I'm not going in. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. And I'll even give them representatives in my area and in other areas that will happily go in, review these documents and help rule them out, help them understand them, interpret them, go through everything with if there's any problems inside of the HR, area. And these are reps that I've worked directly with, that they're amazing HR consultants. And I'm like, absolutely. But I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, like, HR is a beast of its own. And I struggle with people in the HR world because a lot of them do that. A lot of them, they don't understand that they are the bridge. And that it's like people in HR are supposed to have the most backbone, and most of them have no backbone.
Yeah.
And it's like the boss is like,
it evolved from a career of people who were just administrators. They were paper pushers. They were, processing payroll and documenting things and filing, and that was it. And so a bunch of people got promoted into positions with no training, no background in psychology and human behavior and how people work and what advocacy looks like. HR's just finally in 2025 starting to get more seats at the table where the executives sit and make decisions about the whole company, because guess what? People are in every single function and aspect of the company. How do you not have HR sitting at that table helping you make decisions? So I think the career is evolving and it's coming along, and they finally have programs in universities that focus specifically on HR. Most HR people don't even have a background in business, let alone human resources. So I think it's coming along, not quickly enough, as most things with the way that business evolves, but it's definitely needed. We need more skilled professionals, more people who have the backbone, who also have the authority power. Because if you don't have the authority power, it doesn't matter how much backbone you have, nobody's going to listen to you. So
true.
There's a lot of combinations there of things that have to happen for employees to get the support that they need. And I think that's what's so important about being a business owner, being a leader in a middle management type of position, because you can really help cultivate the kind of culture that you want to have with your people, even if HR isn't in your corner or doesn't support the employees like they should. Like, you can be the advocate for your people. And that's what I always told my leaders. I'm like, you don't have to come to me to be the advocate. You can be the advocate for your people too. And I want you to fight for them. I want you to tell us, like, hey, this person shouldn't be on a performance plan. This person shouldn't be on disciplinary action. This person's doing a great job. This other person over here just came in and spewed a bunch of crap about them. Okay, great. I need to know that. How do we support and take care of people? Because, HR essentially has become the principal's office for adults, and that sucks.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. The other item that I have a struggle with is so you guys have OSHA, we have OHS. And so our OHS has really made it difficult on some levels when it comes to workplace violence and safety. And the reason, and so harassment, violence, and safety, right? And I struggle with it because what they had was perfect. It was like, this is what harassment constitutes, this is what sexual harassment constitutes, this is what violence is, and it was very specific. Now it's like, oh, well, if Betty overhears John and Joe, talking about their weekend and she's offended, she can call it in. And I'm like,
It
if you're
created
offended,
so
don't
much
listen.
gray.
What's that?
It created so much gray area.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now, like these people, now everyone can just be offended. And I'm like, oh, half the world is offended by things they shouldn't be and not offended enough by the things they should. So
That's a whole sermon right there. Oh my goodness,
So,
right? Right?
yeah.
But it is. It makes it hard to be an advocate. It makes it hard to understand the rules of engagement. How do we work together? How do we support each other? And I think everybody's just so divided and so hell-bent on being mad at other people
Yeah.
that it's like everybody's looking to pick a fight. And it's like, I don't want to fight. I just want us to get along and do good work and be good people in this world. Can't we just do that?
Yeah, especially being a Pisces. You guys hate fighting.
Oh,
So-
gosh. I know, which is how I ended up in HR, right? I'm like, literally, it's a fight every day.
You're like, let's hug it out.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
fine.
Why are we mad? Can we just not be mad?
No, but I can tell you're very diplomatic. I'm a little bit more rough around the edges when it comes to it. I'm like, I don't have time or patience for this, so let's just get this through. Now, if you're someone who genuinely has a problem and you come to talk to me about it, you open that door and say, I need to have this conversation. I don't brush you aside. I'm not like, I don't have time. I'm like, absolutely, what's going on? I have enough, compassion and empathy and sympathy for people that I can sit with them and hear what's going on and, like just hold space for them while they have that conversation and then, make a decision on how we're going to, sometimes it's just as simple as, we're going to look at the policies and, or most of the time I know the policies off the top of my head. So I'm like, this policy right here, you can engage, at which point you can go on EI. We won't lay you off. We'll hold your position. It sounds like you have a lot going on. You are not fit for duty. So I'm going to tell you to go home and here's all the forms you need to fill out for me. I will submit them for.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of business you own, because they sure did fire Papa John from Papa John's Pizza here in the
Papa John
States.
was talking shit and he had a publicly owned company.
Yeah. But you can't be fired as the owner if you have a publicly owned company and you have a board of directors. Depends on how big your business is.
Very true. Very true. And so, I mean, like, I won't lie to you. I mean, like, I do find that kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Well, it's like you got the tribe has spoken.
right?
Been voted off the island. Exactly.
But it's
Exactly.
accountability. It comes back to exactly what you said earlier, Lisa. It's about accountability and it's about the way that we show up. And if you pull some kind of shenanigans, like there are consequences and there's repercussions, and we're all adults and we should understand that, hey, I messed up at an abominable level. I don't get to come back from this. And so, at the end of the day, if you get your walking papers and you had ownership in what happened, like you need to do some self-reflection and figure some things out and figure out, how do I want to be going forward? Who do I want to be going forward? How do I want to show up in this world?
I gotta be honest, like if you get walked out as an owner, that's almost like goals, because it's like you created a company that was so self-sustaining that they saw that you were the problem, and in order to keep this business big, you needed to go. And it's like, that's goals, bro. Like you got fired from your own company because you made your company so so bulletproof that they were like, you're the problem. Get out.
Right? It's like, well, I mean, you can be proud and sad at the same time in that moment.
I mean, it's like a Taylor Swift song, right? Like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem.
Always. I'm like, listen, most of the things that I deal with my clients, it is usually, hi, it's me, I'm the problem. And we're like, but we can fix it. It's okay. It's okay.
At
But
least,
there are times though, hey, they hang on to employees for entirely too long who are truly the problem. And that's where we come in and we say, okay, well, it's time for this person to go. And guess what? The rest of your team magically just improves because they're not weighed down with the energy vampire and with all of the rework and the attitude and the issues that are being caused. And so it's kind of like you've got your car and you're in second gear, but you're like mashing the gas pedal down and it just won't go any faster. And then you shift into third gear and you're like, bam, we take off. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. Like we got rid of what was holding us back. We shifted into the right mode. Yeah. They can go be productive somewhere else where they're happy.
right. Okay, I'm going to flip you over to a different topic. You said you have a podcast as well.
I do.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, the Impact Triple. It is on sabbatical at the moment, but we do have about 40 episodes, I think, that are out there, and most of them focus on HR and leadership. But as I went through this rebrand last year, and kind of cut out those HR pieces, I've been evolving my services this year and really figuring out like settling into this new brand and how I want to show up and serve people. And so part of that has also been reimagining what the podcast looks like, who it serves, the kind of conversations we have there. So it's really going to dive more into leadership development, a lot of talk about building trust and creating psychological safety in our teams around using our voice and building our confidence as leaders to say the things that we need to say and to also have congruency with our words, with our thoughts, with our actions, so that we can show up in ways that our team can understand us and believe us and trust us and be inspired and motivated to show up and do a good job, and how we're creating impact in the world through the way that we're leading our companies and the projects that we're working on. So I'm very excited for the new season. It'll be coming in 2026. So you'll have to pop over and join me for a conversation there, Lisa.
Absolutely, I will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing that. I love that you're in the space. I do. I think our biggest hurdle is the generational gaps that are happening, right? So like I'm tail end Gen X, so I'm considered an exennial. And and then
I'm a Zennial too.
yay!
Same group.
So we are kind of like we're kind of like stuck in that generation where we are very much Gen X on one side and then very millennial on the other side. But then we get very irritated by Gen Z, but we understand a lot of where their things are coming from. But it's a culture shock for us because we've been X for so long, even though we've been able to dabble in that millennial aspect.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got boomer parents. Now, inside of when I talk about generational gaps, and I know you are no stranger to these because when I'm dealing with a boomer owner and a Z, like brand new coming in, and they're like, what is this? Like, what is happening? And I'm
It's
like,
a whole different brand of human.
yes. I'm like, they're like, what are they talking about? What language is that? Or why are they coming in late? Or why aren't they coming 15 minutes early to get their computer and their space ready? Why are they walking in at 8 on the dot or 7:30 on the dot? They have no respect for time. And I'm like, oh, okay, everybody slow down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I struggled too. When I first was introduced to this new line of thinking, I struggled too. And I said, because we are conditioned, but we are also capable of change understanding. So those are the two things that we are capable of if we allow it to happen. So what this person is teaching is that my time is valuable. I respect the fact that 15 minutes early can get me my coffee, my computer station set up, to maybe talk and find out how everybody's doing, but I'm not paid for that time, which means I don't have to utilize that time in that way. Me walking in at 8 o'clock, I start up my computer, my coffee's already in my hand. I'm now only down a minute for my computer to boot.
Yeah.
Right? So they're looking at maximizing their time that suits and meets their compensation package.
Yeah.
Is what's happening. Whereas the rest of us have just given you free time willy-nilly, and now we're all like, wait a minute.
Right. Are we really just angry at Gen Z for having really great boundaries? I think that might be it.
And that's something that I said on my podcast. And I love that you said it. It's true.
Yeah.
They have boundaries. They're
They do.
they're
I'm over
pissed
here
off.
cheering them on every day. I'm like, go Gen Z, set boundaries. Don't just give away your life and give away your time for what in return?
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not been equitable. It's not been an equitable investment of my time and getting something in return. And Gen Z has seen that, and they're like, I'm not here for it. I'm more on the millennial side than I am on the X side. I do have a lot of those X tendencies though, when I'm like, oh my God, like just frustrated with the world in general. But I've generally, I think through my journey was very much that already a very boundaried kind of person. And I remember my first job in HR, my manager dinged me on my first performance review because I didn't put in enough quote FaceTime. And I was like, what does this mean? And he was like, well, I'm here at 6 a.m. every day. And I was like, I didn't think our job started till 8. And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, I get here at 7:50. How much earlier do I need to be? And I didn't stay late. I didn't stay until 6 o'clock and 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm like, I'm not here to spend 14 hours a day. But he thought I was. And so I got dinged for that in a performance review. But I always bucked the system when it came to, I'm not just doing something just because you do it. It has to make sense. Why are we doing this? Why does this matter? And I think that's one of the very characteristic millennial traits I have. I'm always asking why. I'm like, why? But what's the purpose? Why are we doing this? And the boomer generation is, well, we do it this way because this is the way it's done. And we don't question authority. We follow it and we get in line and we do the thing. And I'm like, but why? And they're like, no questions. So I think too, if you've got a boomer owner and you've got a Gen Z employee, it's helpful to have that Zennial in the middle who can kind of help bridge that gap. Talking about bridging gaps with HR, having multiple employees in multiple generations can also help bridge communication gaps and the way that you think and the way that you show up in the world and help each other learn. Because like you said, you have to be comfortable with change and be adaptable and just understand that we're all, at the end of the day, we all want to do a good job. Like most people don't want to come to work and be miserable. We spend a lot of time there. We want to come
Some
to work.
people do.
Some people do, but that's just because they're miserable in general.
Accurate. They want something else to bitch about.
Yeah. But most people want to come to work and do a good job and have a pleasant experience. And they're not being contrary just to be contrary. There's probably something deeper going on there. And it would be really wise to just say, hey, help me understand. Why do you come in right at 8 o'clock? Instead of like, you got to come in at 7:50 and blah, 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 blah. It's like, just pause, just take a step back. That's my favorite phrase, by the way, help me understand, because it pulls down defenses. Yeah.
It's a safe phrase. Help me understand. I use it too.
Yeah.
Awful. Yeah. People hate it. Because they can't say, I'm not being rude. I'm like, I'm going to need you to help me understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
And they're like, and you're like,
yeah.
Because it's a very politically correct and non-threatening communication to say, I don't understand what you're doing and why you think this is okay, so bring me into your world.
Yeah, but you can't say it and then, weaponize it against people either, right? Like that's where people stop sharing. That's where they don't, they're not honest, they're not transparent, they're not vulnerable, because we have to create that safe space for people to be able to say, well, my time is important. The job description said it starts at 8 a.m. I'm here at 8 a.m. I'm sitting at my computer. I'm productive. I don't understand what the problem is. And you have to be able to say, you know what, there is no problem. 8 a.m. is the expectation I set, and you're actually meeting that. Just because I'm entrenched in some past belief of what work looks like, maybe I need to shift that thinking. Maybe I need to be a little more open to that. Maybe I need to take a clue also and come in at 8 o'clock instead of 6 in the morning. Because why on earth are you at work 2 hours early? I don't even understand that.
Wild. I know. And then, and that's a great thing. So what you're doing is also helping people, because the one thing that I say in my podcast and when I'm out doing talks and stuff is I say, change is necessary, and getting uncomfortable means growth. Because you're forcing yourself to see things through a different set of eyes that you maybe never saw before. You don't always have to agree to it, but it's understanding that things are changing and shifting, so you got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Comfort is where complacency lives.
Yeah.
Right? So
100%.
yeah,
100%.
I love it. I love your podcast and what you're doing and all the
Thank
things. Oh my
you.
goodness. So do you guys do talks in your in and around your state? What state are you in?
Yeah, so I'm in Tennessee, and I do virtual talks, in-person talks. I actually have a talk coming up next week here locally, which is exciting. We're going to talk about the 3 traps of leadership, so that'll be a fun talk. And I've talked on stages all across the country and in different formats and venues, and I love to talk.
That's fair. That's right. That's my daughter. My kids have I'm on a family plan. So my kids are the only ones that can get through on my cell phone, even when it's on like do not disturb and silent.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just asking me a question. Life happens. So
It is real life. It is real life.
it is real life. But yes, but anyways, I will let you run. But I want you to do me a favor. So just hang out real quick. Sorry, hang out real quick with me while I wrap up. And I've got a couple of things I want to share with you in regards to my godchild. I got a couple of things I want to share with you in regards to also my producer that might actually be beneficial to you and to all the people you work with. So thank you very much, Ashley, for coming on and sharing all of your wonderfulness and your experience of HR and what you're doing now in your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. This is such a great conversation. You're so much fun. And I think everybody should walk away with something like really helpful to them in their business and their leadership journey. So I'm excited. I can't wait to share this with my audience as well.
Aw, thank you. And remind me again the name of your podcast when it comes back out in 2026.
Yeah, the podcast is The Impact Ripple, and you can keep up to date on everything at ashleycox.co everywhere you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, everybody. Well, that winds up our what are we at? 48th episode, but season 2. So I got to keep track. I got to keep Michael on his toes because he's got to tell me when my 100th episode is, because then we got to celebrate that one, right? So as always, catch you guys on the flip side and don't do anything crazy.